Hello guys and welcome to Lesson 2 here in Introduction to Python. In the last one, we got ourselves set up in our online IDE. We got ourselves set up in a replit called First Program or First Coding Assignment. Now, whatever you guys wanted to name it, that's fine. Now, you should have your blank REPL, and I'm just going to talk through some things, and I'm going to let you guys fill out that replit as you guys see fit. Whatever you guys think is important, whatever you guys think you want to jot down, I'm perfectly fine with that. Whatever you think is important, you think is important, and that should go on your replit. But I'm not going to tell you what to put on your replit. I'm going to go through a few of these topics. I'm going to try to get through 4 things, and then when I'm done with that, you guys can add what you see fit to your guys' replets. Now, the first thing I want to touch on is we have this thing called, we have the hashtag. Now this is called the comment. Now, it basically lets you write a line, but this line isn't actually going to do anything. This is just for user readability reasons mainly. So this, if you wanted to add detail about what your code is going to do, then that's going to be the perfect time to have these kinds of hashtags for the comments. So if I wanted to title it Chapter 1 Notes, that's what I could do with the comment, and that makes it easy for you guys to read, and that makes it easy for me to follow. Now, this thing over here on the right, I just want to play around with it for a little bit. We won't really do this very often, but I feel like it's important to kind of introduce some things. This thing is called the console. Now, when we print things for this intro, the console is going to be where our output is going. So there's a statement we can use. It's called print. That's all it is in Python. Is all we have to write is print. Now, I can say print, and I can... You always want to put things in quotation marks because that'll mean that it's the specific thing that you want. And I could say hi. You end the quotes. We do not need semicolons in Python. If you're coming from a different coding class, Python's different. You do not need semicolons. Python can recognize when the end of each line is. So if I hit enter, it's going to just print hi. It's not going to print any of the quotes. It's not going to print the word print. It's going to print what you have in the quotes. If I did it without the quotes, it's going to give you an error because there's not something called a variable called hi. Now, we're going to get into that in a bit. But I just wanted to demonstrate the fact that when you're printing things, the console is going to be where they go. And if you wanted to play around with simple commands like print and just get some feedback and get some output in the console, this is where you do it, you know. You can just talk about what you want to talk about over here. So the first thing I want to address is why I have triple quotes. Triple quotes means that you can have a block of your code commented out. So if I wanted to comment out these 3 lines, I just put triple quotes around them both. And then when I want to have these be readable, that's where I'd untriple quote them. So our first topic is about constants. Now, constants are just numbers where we're printing them, and that's what it's going to be. Numbers, we do not need quotes for numbers. Like, for example, if I was going to say print 5, it's just going to print 5 because it can recognize that it's a number. If it's a word, we call these strings, where we put our little quotation marks around them. That kind of means that instead of it being numerical, it's just linguistic. You know, it's kind of more word-based rather than numerically based. But instead of, this is kind of, these statements is kind of just what I put over there, but we're just putting them over here. They're going to do the same things, although I'm not writing them over here. I'm writing them over here for the code to execute.
early dismissal, all tennis players should remain in class for the rest of the day. Thank you.
The code's all on the left, ready to execute. Now, if I were to run this, it's going to give 123, 98.6, hello world. It's going to print our constants. These are things that cannot change. They cannot change. They're not set to a variable, though. So that's why we call them constants. Now, moving to variables, these are things that can change, but they won't always change. If I wanted to set a variable called x and I wanted to make it 1, I can make it 1. I don't have to declare it as any kind of int or double or float. If you've taken a coding class before, you don't have to do that. In this class, it'll recognize that it is a number and it'll set it automatically. Now, if I wanted to print a dog name, that's kind of how you'd set these variables to the constants. So all we're doing is building on this very slightly. We're not really doing anything different. We're just setting variable name equals and then what we put in these parentheses over here. So now we're saying dog name equals Fido, and then we're printing dog name. And because the computer knows that dog name is Fido, because you just set it equal to that, it'll print Fido. Pretty simple stuff. These variables, though, they can change values. So if I set x equal to 1, but later on in the code, I set x equal to 100, and then I printed x, it's going to say 100 because it'll change what the value is. It's dynamic. It dynamically updates based on what you want. So a bit of things on variable names. It has to start with a letter and underscore, and it has to consist of these letters, numbers, and underscores. It just can't start with a number. You cannot start a variable name with a number. You cannot do that ever in Python. It has to start with a letter or an underscore. Now, it's also case sensitive. So if I was going to say dog name, I have to say dog. I cannot say dog name and write it like that. It won't know what that is. It will not know what that is. I have to know what my case sensitiveness is. So Python is case sensitive. I have to say dog name. If I change it and I'm not case sensitive, it will not know what you're talking about and it will give you an error. So I need all of you to make sure that you're putting these things in proper case sensitiveness. And you cannot use reserved words. So anything that's like print, you cannot use any of that to do any of variable names for Python. But not like you'd want to do that anyway. You should always name your variables based on the things that they're going to do. Like if I have a dog name, if I'm setting Fido, then I should name it dog name. That's a very logical and reasonable thing to do. You should always get in the mindset of setting things equal to their function in the program. So here, next thing I'm going to talk about is a few things of vocabulary. This is all about an assignment statement. We're setting x equal to 2, and so that's kind of just like what we did up here, and then we're setting x equals x plus 2. So it knows that x, this is going to change x. This won't read as 2. This over here will not read as 2. But this will read as 2. X equals x plus 2. So print x, it's going to print 4 because we're setting x to a new value, but it'll read it as the old value for right here. So if I did it again, x equals x plus 2, it's going to print 6. Pretty simple stuff. So here we have 4 things that we're doing. Functions are kind of set things that Python has. We have our print function here. We're going to learn more functions as we go. We have our variable. X is a variable. Now these variables are dynamic operators. These are dynamic. They can change based on what we do with them. Next up, we have the constant. This is the numeric constant. So always be 2. It can never change from 2 unless I do something like this and make it 4. And that will change it to 8 because x is a dynamic operator. It depends on what the constants are. Now, operators. We have 5 operators. We have the plus sign, that's to add. We have the minus sign, which is subtracting, finding difference. We have our little multiply sign right there. We have our division sign right here. All very simple. And then a 5th one that we're going to get into more later. This is the remainder operator. Now this, if I wanted to say print, and then I did 5 remainder 2, or if I wanted to do like, that will get us 1 because that's what the remainder of it is. You know, it's all about finding the remainder with this operator. You know, whatever thing I wanted to do. This is normally good for finding multiples, like 7 divided by 2. This will get you 1. But if I did 7 divided by 4, or 7 remainder 4, my bad, this will get you 3, because the remainder is 3. You know, you're doing the division, but instead of printing, like, oh, you got 1, you're going to print your remainder. So those are our operators. Now, the last thing I want to tackle in this is assignment statements. Now, it's pretty simple, but what we're going to do here, we have our variable, and then we're going to set it equal. X equals 3.9 times x times 1 minus x. Now, this is going to follow PEMDAS. Now, so you're going to do your parentheses first, and then you're going to do it from left to right with the multiplication. So if you want to do this on your own and try to figure out what it is, pause the video. All right, I'll assume you paused, and what the value we're going to get is x is now going to equal 0.935. So you're basically just fitting 0.4 in here, 3.9 times 0.6 times 0.4. And that's all you're going to do. So that's going to be the value that you're going to get. So that's all I wanted to cover. In the next one, we're going to talk about user input. But here, this is all about just getting output to our console and printing things that we want to see printed. I'll see you guys in the next video.